Let's get a look at our markets now for the week, and according to the latest crop progress report, corn rated at 66% good to excellent with 96% at the dough stage and 60% dented, both well above average. Soybeans rated at 71% good to excellent with 98% setting pods, again, above average. DTN's Todd Hultman joined me this week to discuss crop conditions and what's making news in the markets. But I began by asking Todd about this month's DTN Digital Yield Tour and the goals behind it.
So this is a joint effort. DTN and the Progressive Farmer sponsored this tour, and we also worked in partnership with Grow Intelligence, which provides a satellite imagery service to us. So putting that all together, we came up with a digital or virtual yield tour, however you want to look at it, which seems suitable and appropriate for this year. We did it in the second week of August, and it turned out there were a lot of market-moving events happening that second week. But we also had a WASDE report on Wednesday, so we kind of coincided the tour with that. USDA this year, they're not in the field yet in their August report anymore. They also use satellite imagery, so we were kind of comparing with what USDA was doing.
Any particular findings from this year that you'd like to share with the audience?
I'd say overall we were close to USDA's August estimates. For corn, we were about 2 bushels higher at 183.9 bushels an acre. On soybeans, we were within, I think, 1 or 2 tenths of USDA's estimate. So overall, we tended to confirm what USDA saw at that time. But as we now know since then, the weather's turned a lot drier. Iowa had a big windstorm, so those estimates are going to change, obviously, when we come to the September WASDE report.
And yeah, Todd, let's look at everything that's been happening with these markets. So we're having this hot and dry weather through our area. You just mentioned the straight line winds that impacted Iowa. And, to top all that off, we have Marco and Laura, 2 storms moving up to the Gulf, making landfall back to back in the U.S. What's the role all of this is playing in the markets right now?
Well, overall, I think the bottom line for the market is that those crop estimates we got from USDA in August, they're probably going to stand as the high water mark, is my best guess, because we've had significant hot and dry stretch, really kind of sapping crops since that time. And of course, as you know, this is an important pod filling time for soybeans, and even though the corn crop got a good solid early start, it's also hard on the corn crops here even late in the season. So it's been overall a tougher time for crops it's a bit unusual for this time of year. It's helped our price rebound a bit, and the 2 hurricanes or tropical storms you mentioned, Troy, it's the second one, Laura, is actually the one that's going to help bring a little bit of relief possibly to the central and eastern Midwest late this week. But it looks like the first Marco is not going to have a significant effect on our row crop production.
And with Laura, that's probably good because anxious time for soybean growers right now because the weather is so crucial getting those pods filled in.
Yes, absolutely. Critical time of the year, and we have not had the moisture they need. So it is very tougher on them.
Let's dive in a little bit more on soybeans. So we had you on the show back in late May. And one of the things we talked about is making sure U.S. soybean producers have access to that growing soybean market. And we've been seeing the news about soybean exports to China. What do you make of all this?
It's been one of the best bullish surprises of this late season. And of course, this has been an extremely tough year for our corn and soybean producers. And the way coronavirus hit the market and really zapped a lot of demand that we were expecting this year. But just recently, we've seen very strong numbers on the new crop sales side for both corn and soybeans. We've got new crop soybean sales in excess of 800 million bushels already, and the new season hasn't even started yet, Troy. That's just an incredible start, something we don't often see, if ever. And that has really helped to revive a lot of hope for prices both in the corn and the soybean market. We also had news earlier on Tuesday morning that the U.S. and China are back at trade talks again, so that's a bit encouraging to go along with this. But overall, we see a very strong appetite coming from China, largely for soybeans, but also for corn this year as well. And that is really helping to resurrect prices from the bottom this year.
And let me get your thoughts on this. What are some things that farmers should be focusing on now as they try to unload that old crop or maybe sell some new crop?
Yeah, well, I don't have to tell them. It's been a very difficult time of year to market corn and soybeans. And our best seasonal opportunities, which usually come late spring, early summer, had the rug pulled out from under them with the coronavirus situation. Just now, we're starting to see a little more rally back in the markets. And I would say if you have not priced any new crop corn or soybeans yet, maybe take a look at this recent rally here and find yourself an opportunity to start at least on 25% of your production. But I would like to expect that once we get through a little harvest pressure when that starts, because we're probably going to still have some pretty big corn and soybean harvests, even though we've seen yields trimmed late in the season. I think once the corn and the beans get stored away for the season, we're probably going to see a little better price dynamic, and especially if China remains strong on the demand front once we get to about the end of December and January. So that's where I think we're going to probably get our better pricing opportunities in this very unusual year.